Welcome to the Psychology Club podcast, brought to you by Vicente Martinez High School.
Welcome to another episode of the Psychology Club podcast. I am super excited. We are starting a series about relationships, all kinds of relationships, romantic, friendships, relationships to your parents, and even today we're starting with the relationship to yourself. So we are kicking things off with a self-love episode. And I am joined here today with Jacob. Hi, Jacob.
Hello.
And we decided today we're just going to have kind of a casual conversation, talking about some topics, and both weigh in on these things. So today, Jacob and I are your panel of experts / hosts. So Jacob, let's kick things off. How do you think people can feel good no matter what their relationship status is? I feel so much society, like we just had Valentine's Day, and I just feel like there's so much pressure in our society to be in a couple. So how can people feel good about themselves no matter what their relationship status?
Well, that kind of requires confidence. It helps to be very confident and to feel good about yourself, to kind of learn not to hear other people and take what they say in. Like, a lot of people have different opinions. People will always say different things, and you need to learn to take the good and filter out the bad, because there will always be someone who will hate and who will just want pain.
Wow, that's really such a good point, because there are just people out there who just want to make other people suffer and will say rude things, mean things, hurtful things, maybe that they don't even believe, but just that they want to see someone be in pain. So it really is kind of an art to learn and a skill to learn how to filter that out. And do you have any tips for that? Like, how can you filter out when someone said something really rude or unkind about you?
It's a skill that you have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that's easily obtainable. Like, you can't just wake up one day and stop caring.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to work on filtering out. Like, you have to go at it headstrong and be aware that this is a reality and there's nothing you can do to change it. So rather than caring what the hate that people say about.
Yeah. It's like trying to, just really not focus on the hate. So not caring about the hate, and instead building that skill of kind of blocking it, not listening to it, putting up that filter. I find one thing that helps me, and that I've heard some other people use too with success, is to sort of think about the other person in a compassionate way, but like, why might this person be attacking me right now? What might it say? Like, how could it be more about them than me? Because it often is. It's more about they're in pain and they're trying to inflict pain on someone else to make themselves feel better. And so if I can take that perspective, that can help not take it entirely in, not believe everything they're saying about me. Yeah. Well, thank you for your thoughts on that. That's really, and I think you're right, like totally, these things are skills and can take time, and awareness is always the first step. So just being aware, like, whoa, somebody said something that really hurt or that was really unkind. Yikes. And then once you have that awareness, then you can think about, okay, what can I do about this now? Okay, I could think about, how it says more about them. I cannot take it in because I know it's not true, or I know this person's suffering right now. So I have another question for you, since we're tapping your expertise here. Is it important first, do you think, to love yourself before you get into a romantic relationship. Because again, like something we see a lot in movies and celebrities is people kind of diving in and losing themselves. And probably you've even seen this with friends or people you know, just like completely losing themselves in a romantic relationship. So what are your thoughts on like how important is it to sort of love yourself first, to be strong for yourself first?
Well, it's very important because that way, when you start loving yourself, you're giving yourself the reassurance that a relationship would be giving you, which then gives you more freedom in that relationship because you're not bound and you're not afraid of losing that reassurance because you're already giving it to yourself. And it's very important. You also, if you don't love yourself, how do you know how to love someone else properly?
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah, it's like if you have experience treating yourself well, then you'll have that experience you'll know how to treat somebody else well. And then I also love what you were saying about like just it builds you up, it makes you stronger, and therefore you don't need another person. But it's nice to have, then it can be nice to be in a relationship. But if you're strong, you're more likely to get into a healthy relationship versus being willing to put up with a toxic relationship, which I know we're going to talk about in a future relationship podcast episode. So stay tuned, listeners, watchers, viewers, YouTube fans, for that. I think that's really some really great points. Okay, so this next one is a little bit tougher. I think for people, this is something that it kind of ties into the first question about like feeling good about yourself no matter what. But how do you stop believing past relationships? Because I know a lot of people have had an experience in a past relationship that might be still kind of with them and be hard. Like that person might have said some really hard things to them, some tough things. How do you kind of break free of the past?
Well, it takes time and determination. Like you can't just, when a relationship is done, you can't just say, okay, that happened, next one. It takes time to get over, and there's when it comes to a breakup, no matter if it was a good or a bad, there's gonna be pain, and you just it's dealing with that pain and struggling with it, knowing that, making sure you have a safe system to go to when you're hurt and when you're feeling sad, because you still have to deal with the loss. It's something that your body's not supposed to be okay with, is the loss of another, is a loss of a friend or a companion, because we're always meant to be social. And so getting over a past relationship takes time. It takes understanding what went wrong, what were different signs, and what could be done different, and just incorporating that into your life.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, there's that kind of overused maybe quote, but I think there's a lot of truth to it. Time heals all wounds. That you have to give yourself time and space to heal. And it's so true that we are really wired to be connected to people. And so losing a relationship, even though it isn't a death, it is a process of grieving. We're losing something that was important to us and was a big part of our lives and part of our social fabric. And so it does take that time. And then I also love what you said about like having a really good support system and just knowing who you can go to and, just get that support and also like have that person I feel like the support system can be there too to help build up your self-love again too, because they're reminding you that maybe those things that person, the hateful things somebody said about you, aren't true. They're able to kind of point out your qualities, your good qualities, and the things about you that are wonderful and have always been wonderful that you kind of forget if you're at the tail end of a bad relationship or feeling rejected or lost or alone. Okay, so now this one, I feel like this next topic is so important as we enter, what is this month? Well, we're entering month 12 of this global pandemic. Things have been shut down in various places around the world for various amounts of time in that period. And people have been spending way more time alone. And like you said, we are social creatures. And that's been really hard on some people. But I think there's, that has some potential too for people to get to know themselves better. So how do you think people can learn to enjoy time alone, given that we're social creatures, given that this has been going on, like this particular part of the pandemic has been going on so long? How can we maybe eke a little bit of enjoyment out of being alone at times?
Well, being alone, being isolated, and a lot of people are different. That to some that comes naturally, and to others it's unbearable. That's something that the world has, for the past year, needed to learn to deal with. People, because I am an immensely social person. Everyone around me calls me a social butterfly. So to not be able to have that social interaction hurts. And you can get to people at times being alone with your thoughts. That's one of the most dangerous things, is when you're alone with your thoughts, because your brain tricks you and your brain makes you believe things that come out of nowhere. So to enjoy alone time, it just comes down to distracting yourself. For those who don't like being alone, who don't like the isolation, is just distracting yourself. Because distracting yourself from isolation is better than sitting in a corner and being alone. Like, I have my family around, but my friends are where my connection is. Mm-hmm. And so being able to go to a computer, being able to distract myself, and it's not just like games, it can be anything. Like, everyone is different. Some people will read, some people will draw, some people will make things, do things, something to distract themselves, to pass the time. A hobby is needed to get through this isolation.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true that that people are really different. And so for some people, being alone is probably this welcome, like, reprieve from the busy world. And for other people, it's like, oh my God, I'm alone with my thoughts. What's happening? This is terrible. My thoughts are turning on me. Help. So it's, kind of knowing where you fall on that scale of bookworm to social butterfly, maybe, because I know for myself, I'm more on the bookworm end, and it sounds like you're on the social butterfly end. So we might have different strategies for kind of enjoying being alone. But I think you're right. Like, a hobby, having something to do is so helpful and just allows you to focus on something else. I would also say, like, a lot of people think that spending time by themselves is going to be really horrible. And then when they actually do it, if you pay attention, you might find you enjoy it more than you think. So like, I know some people who won't even go get coffee by themselves. So they won't even go into a coffee shop unless they're with someone else. But then if they actually kind of challenge themselves and go do it, and like go for a walk by themselves, go to Starbucks or Pete's, not we don't have sponsorships yet by anybody, so we're going to name them all. Go to the coffee shop, your local coffee shop, and get your cup of coffee. You're like, oh, that actually wasn't so bad. That was kind of nice. Like I enjoyed. I listened to music on the walk, and I stopped and took pictures of flowers, and it was kind of fun. Like if you sort of challenge yourself to do things that you think, oh, I can only do that with someone else. That's only fun if I'm out with somebody else doing that, you might find that it's actually kind of enjoyable by yourself. Any other thoughts, Jacob, on this topic of self-love and yourself?
Yeah, to not let others shame you for what you think, what you feel helps you pass the time. To not let others shame you for what you enjoy. Like if you enjoy watching TV all day, then go ahead and watch TV all day. No one else has the right to tell you that that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, it's you that's getting the enjoyment out of it, not them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like there's been a lot of shaming around a lot of aspects of this pandemic on social media, and yeah, definitely like what you enjoy is up to you to decide. Like I'm going to confess right here, right now, one of my favorite hobbies, no one else probably is going to agree with this, is cleaning. So I will go clean my kitchen and really enjoy it. Like I scrubbed down my stove yesterday, and that was the highlight of my day. That was really awesome. And I will not let anybody shame me for that, because that's what I enjoy. And, you know, I think, again, like figuring out what you enjoy and like doing that kind of predicting, how much do I think I'm going to enjoy this? And then just be aware and mindful after you do something to make sure you're really doing stuff you do enjoy. Like, are you watching TV all day because you're like in a really amazing Netflix binge and you've got this amazing show and it's great? Or are you just sort of like zoning out and not enjoying it? And maybe at that point you can be like, okay, for myself, I'm not being shamed into this, but maybe I need another hobby because this one is not bringing me the joy that I am seeking right now. And then kind of exploring that. But if you're enjoying it, yeah, and you're able to get your schoolwork done, of course, or your work done, of course. You're not saying don't do your work. But yeah, I love that. I love that idea of like not and it kind of ties back to like the first thing we were talking about of like not taking in other people's criticisms about you. It's like, yeah, I get to be like, self-love is all about like really owning who you are. And we're all so different, and that's okay. Like that's what makes the world really interesting. And that's what makes it really interesting to meet other people. It would be so boring if everybody was the same. And then it would be like, well, I don't even need to talk to you because I know you're just like every other person. Like there'd be no point in having connections, relationships, friendships at all if we were all the same. So embrace your quirks and the things you love. And yeah, if anybody else loves cleaning, give this video a thumbs up. All right. Well, this has been another episode of the Psychology Club podcast. And like I said, this is a series we are kicking off. So please tune in next time. We are going to have another episode. These are all going to be fantastic and interesting. And Jacob, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so much fun talking to you.